um, point out a couple of things here to you. The Q&A box is on the right-hand side there. Um, you can go ahead and ask your questions. We'll get to that. We're going to spend most of the time today talking about questions. But yeah, go ahead and make sure that I know that you can hear me. I'm kind of in a black box here. I can't really see you all. So if you at least post a question saying, yes, you can hear me, or no, you can't hear me, that would be fantastic to give me some of that feedback. And then, yeah, we're going to be talking about publishing on the Writing Cooperative, writing in general, and then opening it up to your questions today. So again, say hello, and we'll start here officially in just 1 minute. It looks like I hadn't turned on the Q&A. Can somebody please confirm that it's working so that I'm aware, please? Okay, well, welcome everybody. Um, it's 10 o'clock on the dot, and so welcome to Medium Day. I'm Justin Cox. I am the editor of the Writing Cooperative. I don't really know what I call myself. I oversee all of the operations for the Writing Cooperative as a whole, schedule all of the submissions, and just make sure that everything keeps running smoothly. And so I'm really excited that Medium is doing this. I've been on Medium since 2014. That's almost a decade, which is crazy. And so been through the platform through many ups and downs and changes, and evolved with it over the time. The Writing Cooperative also launched in 2014, and so we've been a part of Medium since almost the very beginning. Um, we started as a community for writers, evolved into the publication that we are now. And I am very proud to say that we are one of Medium's largest publications, over 240,000 followers, and we are solely dedicated to supporting and encouraging writers. And so it's one of the things that I'm very passionate about, is doing that, is giving support to others. And so I was very excited that Medium is doing this, because that's the whole goal of today, is to get in connected to the community, to talk to you all, and to really just make connections with people who have only seen their names digitally and I've never been able to interact with. And so very excited to be here today. Um, just a couple of housekeeping things, if you will. The Q&A box is on the right there. I think that it's working. I've announced it, so I'm assuming that means that it pops up on your screen, and you can ask questions, I hope. And so if you've got questions, please type them into the box. We're going to be spending a good amount of time answering questions today that you have. But before we get into that, I want to go into a little bit about writing in general on Medium, and then specifically for the Writing Cooperative. And so the Writing Cooperative, we receive 60 to 70-ish usually submissions a week to be published in the Writing Cooperative. And I typically only accept 2 to 3 articles for publication a day. And so when I'm looking at submissions, I'm really looking for those high quality submissions that are in some way expressing what the writer is sharing, and is in some way helping the reader to level up. I often read articles that are writer focused. The person writing is pouring themselves into it, and what they learned and how they're growing, which I think is fantastic. But really, for the publication, I'm looking for all of the submissions to be reader focused. I want them to be um, I want them to be a benefit to the people reading. And so learning and growing on our own is incredibly important. But as a writer, how do you then pivot that experience that you had so that you can help others learn from it? That's really um, what makes a decent submission into something great. And that's really what I'm looking for these days is how can you use your experience, your knowledge, your writing ability to then help others learn and grow from there. So that's typically what I'm looking for. Um, a little bit of process stuff. So the writing cooperative is not my, and Medium is not my sole job. There was a period from about 2021 to early 2022 when I was a full-time writer, um, writing for clients, writing for myself, writing for stuff on Medium. That's not the case anymore. I am a consultant for nonprofits. I help nonprofits to raise funds and grow their marketing, and I love it. And so, as a result, what I do for on Medium and what I do for the Writing Cooperative is primarily a weekend thing. And so, I typically only review submissions once a week, maybe twice, depending on how my weekend is going. And so as a result, submissions might sit for a week or so. That's not because I am ignoring you. It's really because I value the time that I have, and I only have so much time to be able to give. Um, Also, as a result, I tend to schedule articles about a week or so in advance. Right now, if I was able to turn this camera around, you would see that I'm mostly sitting in an empty house. I'm getting ready for a very large renovation to my house on Monday, and so my life is in a little bit of flux. My desk, this setup right here today, is literally the only thing that I have not yet packed into a box. And it'll be going into a box as soon as this session ends. And so as a result, I've been scheduling articles a little bit further out than normal, because over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be couch surfing and um, doing different things as I wait for my house to kind of be habitable again. So as a result, or submissions to the Writing Cooperative can be scheduled out a week to 10 days in advance. Right now, a little bit longer than that. Again, that's to benefit my time and to make sure that the Writing Cooperative has consistent articles being published. But for you as the writer, the benefit is that I only publish 2 to 3, sometimes 4 articles a day in the publication. So that means that your article is getting, FaceTime on the Writing Cooperative publication page for a significant amount of time. Which again, my goal is to support and encourage writers, and one of the ways that I do that is by making sure that the articles that are submitted to the publication are elevated to that level of publicity and promotion that I can potentially give with the audience. Um, the what I'm looking for in submissions, as I mentioned, is something that is personal, but also something that is supportive of other writers. And so, um, let me share a couple of examples about that, um, about what I mean by that. And so, um, you could have a fantastic article about how you learned a particular something from a writer or in a book that you read or that you gleaned from something. That might be fantastic. It might be very well written. Um, but if it's only focused on you, it's really not what is going to fit into the Writing Cooperative. The goal is to take that knowledge and then how do you share it? How do you teach other people what you have learned? That's really what I'm looking for in writing cooperative pieces. There was a time when we were looking for articles that were more focused on just here's knowledge, here's kind of the mechanics of writing, and there's occasions where we will still publish that type of piece. But when it comes down to it, we're really looking for personal experience that then translates into something that the reader can either wrestle with as they think about their own process or their own writing style or their own abilities, and then how they can then implement that into their process and their system. Um, and so a good submission is typically well written. It's typically clear and helps guide the reader through the article with good section headings, and it's formatted correctly. Number one reason something gets rejected from the writing cooperative, it's not formatted properly to our rules. And so make sure that if you are submitting to us, that it is properly formatted. But overall, what makes a good submission is quality. It's got to be really, really high quality writing and high quality experience for the reader. And so that kind of leads me into a little bit of the Boost program for Medium, which is it's new. I've been able to nominate stories for a couple of months now and part of the beta. And so anything that is submitted to the Writing Cooperative is something that I consider for nomination to the Boost program for Medium. If it's published and accepted into the Writing Cooperative, then that means that I think that there is a level of quality there, but that does not mean that it's automatically what I would call nomination worthy for the program. To be nominated for Boost, the article has to really capture me. It has to be something unique. Medium is very clear with what their Boost standards are as to what makes that up. For me, it's got to be something that's different, that really kind of stands out, that highlights the writer's experience, that really shows, hey, this person knows what they're talking about and they're sharing it with the community. When they do that, when it's something that's interesting and unique, then I go ahead and nominate it to the curators for Boost throughout the system. So far, in the last couple of months, while I've been able to nominate stories, I have 65 stories for Boost. I have a 75% acceptance rate, which I'm very proud of. That means that I'm seeing kind of what I think the curators are looking for, and really elevating that high quality of writing. And so if you submit to the Writing Cooperative, your submission will be considered for Boost, but it's really got to be one of those the best of the best of what is accepted to the Writing Cooperative to be accepted or to be nominated, excuse me, for Boost. Then ultimately, it's up to the Medium curation team to decide what then gets chosen for Boost and distribution throughout the system. Um, Ultimately, of those 65 stories that I've nominated, as I mentioned, they share a couple of traits in common. They highlight and elevate the author's or the writer's experience, why I should trust that person, why I should listen to what they have to say. They're unique in topic. It's not just another article about what that person learned from Stephen King's On Writing book, because there's too many articles about that in the world. It's something unique. It's a unique take. It's a unique position. It's a unique point of view that person is sharing. And then ultimately, they're coming and writing from their personal experience and their personal tone. I've written recently about how with AI and everything is kind of writing online that goes through AI generation is kind of being polished smooth. I don't really know how else to describe it other than it's like a river rock that's getting polished, and it all kind of feels the same. If I'm nominating something for Boost, excuse me, or if I'm accepting something into the publication, I want to hear that writer's unique voice, their unique tone. I want to be able to feel like I'm understanding the author's point of view within that story. Um, and so sorry, I just realized that there's a tab for review questions, and I can see that there's dozens already put in. I'm sorry that I haven't responded to any yet. Learning this as we go. Yeah, so I'm looking for the unique writing that you have to share. That's really what makes a great article on the Writing Cooperative, but also on Medium in general. If you're looking to be boosted throughout the platform, that's what Medium is looking for. Your unique point of view, your unique voice, your unique style. And so with that, I really want to get into the Q&A portion. And so there's a number of you that have asked questions. I've got a few questions that were submitted to me ahead of time that I want to get to as well. So I'm going to try and blow through as many questions as I possibly can, as quickly as I can, so that I can try and get your answers in. If you've not yet asked a question, feel free to use that Q&A tab, and we'll get to, again, as many as possible. So the first question is from Alberto. What do you think is the best way to start getting paid as a writer today? Best is subjective, Alberto. There's a lot of different ways that writers can get paid online today. Working for clients, in my experience, is the best, most lucrative way. It is difficult to build up and start that client relationship, but once you do, it is the most lucrative. The easiest way to get paid as a writer, I think, is the Medium Partner Program. Joining and publishing, there's not really much more barrier to entry than that. But again, best is subjective. What makes the most sense for you is not going to be the same as necessarily as what makes the most sense for me. And so my advice is to figure out what your end goal is, and then figure out the right process to get to that point. If it's working for clients, then figure out what you need to do to start connecting with clients. If it's just sharing thoughts online, the Medium Partner Program is definitely the easiest. Malky asks, what are the most frustrating things you encounter as editor of the Writing Cooperative, and do you ever get bored with it? The most frustrating thing that I encounter is just submissions that waste my time. Submissions that are either have nothing to do with writing. I can't tell you how many I get each week that it has nothing to do with writing. That's a waste of my time, and it frustrates me. Or submissions that are clearly AI generated. I feel like I have a good sense for what that is, and it has no voice and no tone, and I don't like it. And so that's frustrating to me, because it shows me that there's writers out there that are leaning into that, and that's fine if that's what you want to do, but I don't think Medium is the place for that. And so do I ever get bored with the Writing Cooperative? Bored, not necessarily. Burnt out sometimes, yes. Again, it's kind of a never-ending cycle and flow of submissions. Around 70 or so a week. It's a lot, but it's never. I've never been bored by it. So good question. I would like to hear how it's going with your book. Are you pleased with the project? Are sales decent? Have your work with Medium helped elevate the profile of the book? So I wrote a book last year, or published it last year, called Right Now, how to, something about how to chase your dreams. My brain's not working. As I mentioned, I'm in the process of moving, and so I don't even have a copy here to show you. But it's available. There's links on all of my stuff. I didn't know what to expect when I published that book. And to be quite frank with you, I've been very surprised and pleased at the response. There's consistent sales every month. And so I don't make a lot of money on the book, but I more than broke even in terms of the cost that I spent on doing the layout and the design and the amazing cover art that I had somebody create for me. And so I broke even in the first month. And so everything since has been pure profit, which is lovely. And again, it's not much, but it's nice to know. And what I really get out of the book is that I know that people out there are reading it, they're enjoying it. they're learning as a result of it. I get people sending me comments all the time saying that they're learning through the book, that it's challenging them as a writer, which that's really why I wrote the book. And so all the funds and the profits are gravy to me, and they've been nice. So I've been very pleased with the result. All right, let's see here. The oldest questions we have. Am I on staff as a Medium writer? No, Francis, I am not on staff as of Medium. I have never worked for Medium, though I have been part of pretty much every monetization beta product that Medium has had since the beginning days. I've never been employed by Medium. My Georgia asks, how many questions did you get in response to your ask for questions? There's a lot in here, Georgia. I have no idea. So there's a lot of questions. Francis asks, are we muted? Yes, everybody is muted on this, as you should see by now, but the questions are all coming through to me loud and clear. Let's see. Melissa, thank you for your kind words. Yes, Harry, today's sessions, all sessions are being recorded for Medium Day. My understanding is that in the next couple of days, they're going to be made public. I've been told on YouTube. I'm not exactly sure. I'm sure Medium will do a big splash on the platform as well. But yes, all sessions are being recorded. So I know that there's a lot that are overlapped. So if you have to pick and choose, all of them will be recorded, and you'll be able to rewatch this one and listen again in the future. Let's see. Does length factor into submissions, Tom? Good question. To some extent, yes. Length factors in to the extent that I want there to be enough meat on the bones. That's actually one of the things that I often share with writers that I'm rejecting. I'll say that there's not enough meat here. What I mean by that is it feels either unfinished, or it feels like something that is just too short. Again, my goal with accepting articles into the Writing Cooperative is to make sure that the reader has a good experience engaging with that particular author's work, that particular writer's work. And so to do that, there's got to be some sort of meat to it. I don't really know how else to describe it other than there's got to be something that they walk away with that they felt like they've had a good experience. And so something that's too short, I don't really have a kind of a cutoff for it, but usually things are at least 3-4 minutes in the publication. There's not really a high end for submissions. I've accepted stuff that are 20+ minute reads before. As long as the bones, the structure, I hate the word content. I'm trying not to use the word content, but as long as what's in the article is good for the reader, then it's worth accepting. Let's see. Natalie, had somebody on for some of the any publication. I write in that. I have a lot of things that my writing is technical. I write here. So if you and so that's one of the biggest mistakes, is that it's clear to me when somebody has not read the rules prior to submitting. Outside of that, the biggest mistakes that I see is really just not making something, not leaning into their experience. If I read a article and I walk away from it not knowing really anything about the writer, that's a hard article for me to accept, because again, I want to be able to feel the writer's voice. I want to be able to feel the writer's intent and tone. And so if I walk away without any understanding of the writer, it's really hard for me to say yes to accept it, no matter how well written the piece is. Um, and so, Elaine, I've been hopefully expanding a bit on what it means to be reader focused throughout, but really, um, for example, if we get this type of submission often. It's what I learned publishing or self-publishing a book. We've gotten those kind of pieces. We get them often. Sometimes I publish them, sometimes I don't. It just kind of depends on how it's written. What that person learned writing and self-publishing their book is great. And any reader can potentially walk away with some insight into that experience. There's a difference, though, by then taking what has been written and what I've learned, or what the reader or the writer has learned, and translating it to how the writer, or how, I'm sorry, how the reader can learn from that experience. And so instead of making the article entirely I focused, it's making it you focused, so that you're giving the reader advice, you're giving the reader things to look out for, things to consider as they embark on their own journey. Um, One of the ways that I can kind of explain this reader focused is um, all writers are not the same. And what works for me, or what worked for me in the past, may not work for you. And as a writer, it's my job to understand that concept and then write accordingly, and not to tell you this is how you should do things, but to say this is what worked for me, and these are the decisions and the things that you need to look out for. That's how I kind of approached writing my book. Um, and that's really how I try to approach all of the writing that I do personally. And honestly, that's what I like to see in the writing cooperative as well. So that's what to me makes something reader focused, is that you're really considering the person who is ultimately going to sit down and read this, and writing for them, and writing so that they can learn or take something away from your writing. Um, Susan says, I'm new to the writing cooperative. Who is the audience that you want to see articles for? So, our audience in the writing cooperative is very broad. We have writers, or we have readers from all different walks of life and genres, fiction, nonfiction, poetry, you name it, there's people reading our publication for it. And so I accept stuff for all different types of writing. I accept points of view and opinions that I don't necessarily personally agree with in my writing world. It wouldn't necessarily be how I do things, but again, there's no right or wrong way to approaching writing. So even if it's not something that I might personally do, somebody out there might learn from it. So the audience is vast and wide. And so as long as it's writing focused, it's helping writers to grow and to learn, that is our audience. Um, let's see here. Um, will you be writing on your phone? Do you find those that do write using their phone will not be allowed? So Laura, I actually typically start all of my articles on my phone. That's where I do my outlining. And so I just kind of bullet point thoughts that I have. And then I turn around and I sit down on my computer, whether it's my here at the desk or my laptop on the couch, and that's where I expound upon them. But I do start everything on the phone. If you're going to write solely on the phone, I would just say make sure you do an extra job of editing to make sure that it's clear, concise, there's no autocorrect issues before you submit. Um, should we include our images in our articles? Yes, that's a requirement of the publication, that all articles include some sort of featured image. I will say, don't use the same image that you see everywhere. If I see another article with that quill pen and the script writing, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about, from Unsplash. If I ever see that again, I just automatically reject it. It's the first image on Unsplash that comes up when you type in writing, and it tells me you are the laziest writer out there and have no creativity. So don't use it. And yes, include articles, but get creative. Find something that's unique. Find something that hasn't been used a million times. Does one become a member of the cooperative? You can join the cooperative as a writer. I also have what's called my writing community, which is a Discord channel, our Discord server with Zuli Rain, Sanem Ganel, Eric Price. There's Kevin Alexander. We have a lot of fun in there. You can join that by going to my website, justincox.com, and joining as a member. And that gives you access to that. But at the Writing Cooperative, writing submissions, all that is free. What kind of subject is suitable for the publication? As I said, writing, it's got to be writing focused. Catherine says, you've given me examples of what you are looking for in terms of topic and focus. Can you further define quality with more specific examples? Catherine, honestly, it's a little bit subjective. Quality to me might not necessarily be quality to you. My suggestion would be to read through the publication and kind of get a feel for the type of things that are submitted and accepted. What is the best way to submit to you if I'm not already a writer for the publication, as opposed to just adding it to my collection? Anonymous person, go to our submission rules. There's a link at the bottom to request to be a writer. That's the only way that we accept writing submissions. I don't accept anything via email. So as long as you go and follow the rules and join the submission, request to be a writer that way, you will get added and you can submit. Simon, thank you for the kind words. And Anonymous, again, how does one submit? Again, if you go to the publication, writingcooperative.com, there's a tab on the menu bar that says Write for Us. It gives you everything that you need to know. It's 10:30. Our time has ended. I thank you so much for being here today. We ran through a million questions, it feels like, in just a very short amount of time. If I didn't get to yours, I'm sorry. And so if you have additional questions, reply to any of my newsletters and ask them. I'll try to move through them as much as possible. But right now, I'm going to say goodbye and I'm going to go pack my computer. And I hope you have a lot of fun at the rest of Medium Day. Thank you all. Have a great rest of your day.